rabbi, professor, many things. But one of your majors is you are an author, or when it comes to building Holocaust museum.
Right.
All right. My question is that now every museum that is about Holocaust, to make it more interesting to everybody, it hasn't been more Holocaust museum, it becomes tolerance museum, genocide museums. Is that not a way to say Holocaust, it become just another genocide more, and to forget and leave it like it's something there?
It is possible that essentially we are seeing the end of the Holocaust as being the center. But I don't believe that's going to succeed. And the reason being that the Holocaust involves elements of genocide. It's the paradigmatic genocide of the 20th century. It involved 22 nations. It implicated all of Western civilization. It implicated all of Christianity. It used all the instrumentalities of state as the means of destruction. It used the instrumentality of law. And consequently, every event of genocide in the post-Holocaust era only shares a dimension or two. And the emotional power of these museums comes from the Holocaust. The reality is we have 50 years of experience in building Holocaust museums. We do not yet have 10 years of experience in building genocide museums. And we don't have 10 years of experience in building museums of tolerance and of human rights. So maybe 50 years from today, we will know how to build those museums in the same way that we know how to build the Holocaust Museum successfully. But I think the Holocaust is such a unique event that it will continue to occupy center stage in the concerns of humanity. And I'm less concerned about the dilution of the Holocaust, because I think the moment you dilute it, you destroy your purpose.
But also it has been a change of the way to look at the Holocaust. Sometimes, some time ago, you saw Holocaust was a crime against Jews, against a religion. Now it's starting to have that Holocaust and all the Nazi era was a problem for Russians, for Gypsies, and also for the German people to see now a new movies that talk about how the German people suffer about in the losing a little bit, and it came there a little bit.
Yeah, let's begin. The suffering of the German people in World War II was real, but it was brought about by themselves. It was brought about their leadership. No Hitler, no war, no suffering of German people. Secondly, it's important to understand that a whole range of people were victimized in the Holocaust. Gypsies, Jehovah's Witnesses, homosexuals, communists, trade unionists, etc. The Jews were the center. Only against the Jews was there direction for the final solution for the annihilation of men, women, and children. So there's a proper way to balance the inclusion of other people with a discussion of what was unprecedented, what was unique, which was the destruction of the Jewish people. And the crime of the Nazis was not against Jewish religion. It was against Jewish blood. Because people who had converted 2 generations before, if they had 4 Jewish grandparents, were condemned to die as Jews. The example, Edith Stein, a Roman Catholic nun, was condemned to die as a Jew. In Warsaw, the last building standing in the Warsaw Ghetto was a Roman Catholic church, frequented by Roman Catholic priests, by Roman Catholic parishioners, by Roman Catholic altar boys, by Roman Catholic nuns, all of whom had Jewish blood. So the crime was not in previous genocide, in previous attacks against the Jews, the crime was against the Jewish religion. Here the crime was against Jewish blood, it was racial.
We know that, but the world is changing and giving another perspective in movies that are very important, in series that there were other parts of Holocaust and that it was another part of the Holocaust. What can we do to not let that happened.
What can we do? We can tell our story. We can work creatively and imaginatively, and we can follow through. And that's what we have to do. We have succeeded in making the Holocaust a central defining event of 20th century humanity, and I think it will endure as the defining event, the paradigmatic evil of 20th century man.
Last time I talked with you about forgetting, about giving, forgive the German people, and now we're talking about also about justice or revenge. The first question is how to determine who has to be the people who say this is justice, because we see that there are many criminals, and it comes politics, and it came and say he's not a criminal, he's a criminal. Who determines that these Nazi criminals, they were really Nazi criminals, and who is the one to determine what the punishment for them?
The punishment is always going to be inadequate, especially now. The punishment, in essence, if a man has lived 90 years and has not suffered because of the crimes he committed, even if you put him to death, he's had 90 years. So it's belated justice, it's inadequate justice, it's partial justice, it's symbolic justice, it's not real justice. But that doesn't mean it shouldn't be done. It means that it has to be done. And again, the reason it has to be done is because it must embarrass and frighten future men who might contemplate committing genocide to say that I will not be able to die in my own bed at the end of my day. The world's going to hound me.
But you didn't tell me who has to determine what is justice and who is...
The nations, the answer is we have an international court. We have courts in different countries, and we have to struggle to achieve the measure of justice that is available to us.
What happens if in these international courts we know that he is a Nazi criminal, or he did very bad things during the Holocaust, and this international justice says he's innocent? What is will be the...
Well, we haven't had cases in which we've had declaration of innocence. We've had cases in which they've said the evidence is inadequate. We've also had cases in which they've said the punishment is partial. Look, there was a guard who was punished. I think they made it. The punishment was 8 minutes for every person who was killed.
8 minutes for every person. All right.
So if you have that, then some people say we should achieve vengeance. But the lesson for the world is to achieve that modicum of justice available to us.
What do you think we have to do when we find some criminal, some Nazi criminal in a country, and when you want to take it out, the government says, no, I'm not giving it away, I'm not... Do we have to look for revenge? Do we have to look for use of the force? Do we have to do what they did with Eichmann? Or we have to leave it because it's a political thing already?
You have to embarrass those nations into doing better.
They don't
But
care.
ask,
They don't care.
ask my friend Efraim Zuroff, that's his job.
And for you?
For me, I think we have to embarrass them into doing what's right. It's a political issue.
No. Sometime a little bit before, they asked you about Palestine and Israel, and they said that it's happening the same. I know it's not happening in a genocide, but something that many times they use they are like in concentration camps.
They're not in concentration camps.
Not to answer that, yes.
The answer is they're not in concentration camps. They are in refugee camps. But the refugee camps are a function of the fact that the Arab governments and the Arab people did not want to let these people have a normal adjustment to exile. Lots of people have been exiled in the 20th and 21st century, and this is the only case of exile where they've continued in squalid conditions for 65 years.
Now, to end, you are, like I told you, like we told before, you are an historian, you are a professor, but you are also a rabbi, a religious people. what happened with God in the Holocaust?
Well, yes. Let me begin with theological modesty. I am not God. I don't understand God. And if I understood God, I would have to be God. I think that there's one mistake that we make. The mistake is a conceptual mistake. The mistake is to assume that God is with the perpetrator of the crime. God, if God was manifest in the Holocaust, it was in rescue, inadequate. It was not a miraculous God. It was not a God who saves. But if God was present, it was in rescue. It was in liberation. It was in the rebuilding of Jewish life. It was in Jews who helped other Jews. But God as perpetrator would have to mean that a Hitler was an instrumentality of God. And I refuse to believe that God would choose Hitler as an instrument of punishing anybody.
So, it was God in the Holocaust, or he was not there? Because for many people, it was an absence of God. Somebody blamed God.
For many people, there's a term in theology called the eclipse of God. God hid God's face. God was not present. And for many people, they lost their faith.
And for you?
For me, I don't have the same faith in God that I had before I studied the Holocaust. Different faith.
Thank you very much.